In 60 years, Brisbane has transformed. Once near deserted streets are now full of cars, and all these people have to live somewhere.
Growth is something that every city grapples with, and the growth has to go somewhere. It's a case of determining where and how that growth occurs.
There is always going to be a little bit of a tension about how we grow and what nature that takes.
Leonie Henriks lives on 4 hectares in Brisbane's outer west, and during the summer months, koalas are her closest neighbours.
You walk out with your cup of tea, you sit down, and literally 5 metres away, you've got a koala in a tree.
But on the other side of the Diagula National Park, 980 homes have been given City Council approval.
It's running straight through a wildlife corridor that provides a safe haven for a broad range of native animals. To add more people into the mix, you're really just looking at losing all of that.
This project, it'll have about 600 on-site jobs and then a multiple of that off-site in building supplies. So, we think it's an important part for the Queensland economy.
As part of the $900 million project, the developer will dedicate more than 90 hectares or 40% of the site to green space. But that hasn't placated locals who are also worried about increased traffic. It's prompted the new Labor government to take the unusual step of calling the project in to decide whether to overrule council's approval.
Ultimately, what the industry is really looking for is a fair degree of certainty in the system. So that means that there's a clear decision-making process, and then there's confidence that when decisions are made that they'll be, carried through.
They should build up. They should build up in areas that are already developed.
That's exactly what they're doing in the inner city suburb of Woolloongabba, and local residents there are furious too.
This is a lovely little pocket of old timber and tin cottages. It's a community. There's a community garden here. There is a fabulous local school.
Sally Dillon says she carefully checked the city plan before her family bought their home 3 years ago.
Dump your bag. This plan goes so far outside the local area plan, it's just ridiculous. They want to have buildings that are 21 storeys instead of 15. Instead of 20 metre frontages, they want to have 48. They want to have 17-storey towers within 16 metres of little 2-storey timber and tin cottages.
The first 14-storey stage has been approved. Neighbours are determined to fight the scale of other towers.
Yes!
The development will be just over Andrew Gilbert's back fence. Until now, the nearest high-rise was an 8-storey apartment block hundreds of metres away.
We'll have 2 21 storeys on that side of it, and they'll be almost 3 times that height.
We won't have light, we won't have breeze, we won't have privacy. It'll just literally be a whole bunch of buildings all wrapped around a car park.
I think it is making a mockery of the whole city plan, the fact that developers can come in and just say, no, we want to go higher, we want to go wider, we want to go closer to neighbours.
It's all part of the City Council's determination to build an extra 156,000 homes before 2031.
So it's about how a development can occur. It might mean that there is less land taken up, but that it goes higher. And that's the trade-off that people have.
But urban planner Phil Haywood says the way the council is implementing its city plan is overkill.
The kind of incremental devastation of rolling the city centre out a little bit further now and a little bit further then can give you the bombed out look that you get in places like Kansas.
I think there is probably a perception that the balance has been in favour of developers over the past few years.
The former LNP government removed the rights of residents to appeal against decisions.
We've made it clear in opposition that all of those third-party appeal rights that the Newman government extinguished or made harder for Queenslanders to access in terms of having their voices heard would be changed by an ALP government.
So when can we expect that to happen?
Well, I don't have firm timeframes now, but we are looking at making those amendments.
Community groups right across the city are now banding together and, as a powerful coalition, intend to fight what they see as overdevelopment. They're bringing in their own planning and architectural experts to work out the best way to get the state's planning laws changed.
We really do need to think about livability. Nowadays, it is not so much that people go to where the jobs are, it's that jobs go to where the people want to be.
Developers argue it's their projects that create jobs, and tastes are changing.
Not everybody wants to live in a detached dwelling with a backyard. And there's a housing affordability element as well. If we aren't able to accommodate additional people and growth, what we're actually going to see is that young people being locked out of the housing market.
We moved here really so that the kids could have a good upbringing.
But Leonie Henriks is one of a growing number who believe what they have should be preserved.
My children are probably some of the last generation that will be able to say they grew up in the Brisbane city region and woke up to koalas in their backyard.
Leonie Mellor in Brisbane.